I'm young. 95 young.
So will you tell us a little bit about Ellensburg when you were Addie's age?
I didn't live in Ellensburg.
Okay.
I was born in Bellingham.
Okay.
And my daddy built a pretty new house in Bellingham. And when a year passed, after we lived in that beautiful house, the Depression came. I don't know if you kids have heard that word, depression. But that means the country went broke. The whole country, United States, went broke. And there wasn't hardly any money, hardly any jobs. And you know what? We had to move out of that pretty house into an old farmhouse out in the country. And the house was old and it was cold. And I had 5 brothers and sisters. And we all slept upstairs. There were 3 bedrooms in this old house. And actually I lived in 3 of them, all around the country, old farmhouses. But the way we lived, my daddy bought some cows and he sent milk for people, so they had to buy the milk. And it was really hard for people then. And
So they didn't go get their milk at the grocery store. So you're telling them that your dad had milk and your dad sold milk.
yes, he sold milk. And we had these cows. And I moved out there when I was 7. I went to Bellingham for 1 year when I was 6 years old, like you kids. I guess you're all 6, right? Yeah.
I'm 7. I'm 7.
6 and a half.
You're not in 2nd grade yet, are you? No. Okay. Well, I remember I went to Columbia School in Bellingham 1 year, and then after that we moved out in the country, and my dad had these cows, and we had to walk to school on gravel roads, about 1.5 miles. My brothers and sisters and the neighbor kids. There was neighbor farms, and all the kids would walk to school together. And sometimes it would be snowing, and we'd walk home in the snow or whatever. And sometimes our shoes would wear out, and they'd get holes in the bottom. And there wasn't hardly any money to buy the shoes. So my daddy would glue a little rubber thing on the bottom of our shoes to cover the holes. So the shoes would last longer. So I wore shoes like that sometimes. They had the holes in, but they had the rubber over. And let's see, what else would you like
What about,
to know?
what did your classroom look like?
It had desks, rows of desks, not like these. I don't know if you've seen the desks like I grew up, but there was a whole row of desks, and they had an inkwell up in the front of it, and you dip your pen in it, a stick pen with ink on it. And there was 4 rows of desks, 4 rows. The first row was 1st grade, all the way back. I don't remember how many, must have been a lot of kids. The 2nd row had 2nd graders in. The 3rd row had the 4th graders in.
What?
No, 3rd graders, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th row had the 4th graders in. And we was all in the same room, and we couldn't talk. We had to be really quiet unless we raised our hand like that. You wanted me to ask me something?
I know what those things look like that.
Those desks?
Yeah, those desks in
Yes.
the schools.
Did you?
Because when I went to man camp with my dad and my other friends, we went there and like this some place, and it had tons of places where you can. It had tons of houses.
You went to an older town and it was a museum,
Yeah.
right?
No, it wasn't really.
They had the,
like it had it looked like it had mining things.
yeah, he went to an old, I saw the pictures, and then they had a 1-room schoolhouse there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids had to be really good. One school I went to in the country, I guess the principal or the teacher wanted to be sure we was really good. So he came right down the row and he hit everybody on the head with a stick. And we was all sitting really good anyway, and I thought, why did he hit us? But I guess he wanted to make sure we was good. I remember that very well. And I remember my teachers, some of them I had 2
They're all looking at me
girls.
like, am I gonna do that? No, I'm not.
No, you don't want to do that. I had had two teachers named Mr. Johnson in different schools. You got a question?
I have a hole in my shoe.
Oh, you got a hole? Well, yes, you got a hole.
Maybe
But
we'll
it's not
glue
on the
some
bottom.
rubber on it.
Well, you don't have socks on.
Let's see, I want to look at you kids a little bit. Is there any girls with dresses on in here? Any girl got a dress? You got a dress on? Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
And you got one. You know, when I went to school, that's all girls wore was dresses or skirts. No girl or women wore pants in those days. I didn't either. I wore dresses all the time. My girls wore dresses. All the girls could not wear pants.
Why?
They didn't allow it. The whole country, no women or girls wore pants. They all wore skirts or dresses.
What if they don't have skirts and dresses? They don't have pants.
Well, they had them. They had to have them, or they couldn't go to school. My mom made most of my clothes because she didn't have money to buy her clothes. So she'd get boxes of old clothes from big people, and she'd cut them apart, and she'd make dresses for me and my three sisters. She made most of everything I wore, my underclothes, even my handkerchiefs. She made everything, and she sewed all the time. There was 4 girls and her in our house. There was 5 women for dresses, and that was a lot of washing. And the boys wore pants, of course. One time my brother wore his pants out, and they was full of holes, and my mom wouldn't let him go to school. And so pretty soon we got a knock on our door at home, and it was a woman from the education department or somewhere, and she said, "So the school wants to know why your son isn't going to school." And my mom says, "Well, all he's got is rags, and I won't send him to school in the pants he's got. So I will not send him to school looking like that." My mom was really proud. She wanted her kids to look nice. So they took her to town to like a welfare office or something, and the government would issue something. You'd have to sign in for it, and so they issued my mom some pants for my brother so he could go back to school. And let's see, what else can I tell you about? I can tell you about the cows. We had about 20 cows, and they got thirsty, and in the summer, we had to drive all the cows down the road to this big pond where there's lots of water. And my brother was 9 and I was 7, so in the summer, we had to drive all of Daddy's cows down the road, the gravel road. It was probably at least a mile or no more. And cows are slow, so, you know, it took a long time to get all these cows down the road to the pond where they could drink water.
So you had to
We
walk.
had to walk with them and be sure they got to the water pond, and then we had to walk them home. And when I think about that now, I can't believe that my dad let a 7-year-old and 9-year-old take all these cows down the road all by themselves. But I did that. Yes?
When you were a kid,
Yes.
was George Washington your president?
No, that was that was a long time before us. That was probably at least 200 years.
Who was your president?
Huh?
Who was your
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And, you know, they didn't have televisions or cell phones or
Then they had
anything
black and
like
white
that.
phones.
And my daddy had a little radio, and it was sitting on a table,
So
like
you had to
like
sit
in
around
the
and-
rocker.
You
And
sit
my
around.
daddy would turn this radio on, and I would hear Franklin Delano Roosevelt talk on that radio. And my dad sat by that little radio every night because there was no television. That's the way we heard the news. And I used to hear that president talk. I can still remember what he sounded like. Yes?
I've actually seen people drive cows down to a lake. They went right past my house, and
Oh,
they had
yeah.
like a dog, and there's like a 4-wheeler in the back. There's like
Oh.
people in a truck, and they had hay in the back, and the cows would
Well,
follow
they
the
had a
hay.
truck. We didn't have that. We had to walk. They had it better, didn't they? And toys. We didn't have store-bought toys. My daddy had to make whatever we had. He made my
Put your hands
sisters
down to be
and I
listeners.
a little dresser about this wide, and a suit about this tall, and it had a mirror on it. And then he made a kitchen cabinet and had the flour bin in it, and the little drawers, and it was a plaything. My dad made it out of apples. we had marbles. We jump rope.
Oh, just show a
we
connection.
played hopscotch.
Not a
You kids
story.
know hopscotch?
Yeah,
Yes.
we have it out there.
We used to use pieces of broken glass for the squares, because we didn't have stuff to do. You got another question?
I was gonna ask you that when my mom had a bag of marbles, and she's not as old as you, but she had a bag of marbles when her mom was your age, and with me and my great grandpa, we played this game where you have marbles in the middle of. Well, they used to play this game
With marbles.
like you go outside and you make a circle with dirt, and then you have a big marble, and then your opponent has a big marble, and then you put tiny marbles inside the middle, and then you go like this, and if you hit a marble out of the circle, then you get to keep it.
I think that they played
Like you
games
could-
like that when I was a kid with marbles. I think we
Yeah,
did
and you-
at school.
And at school, and you got to keep the marble, and you never had to give it back
Oh.
when you got one.
Thanks for sharing that story, Rip. I heard that you brought something special.
Yes, I did. I brought a little sack. I thought maybe I'd show you a few things from my childhood.
So remember, you're listening and gathering information.
This is my baby shoe. I wore this when I was a baby, and this is what baby shoes looked like at that time. It's kind of like a leather, and it's got buttons. Can you believe that? I can't imagine they was buttoning shoes on a baby. You never saw this before either, did you? That's my baby shoe. It's a little baby shoe. I only got just one,
That will fit on you
and I
now.
wore that, and I really treasure that. I don't know who's gonna get it. Maybe my son will get that after I'm gone. Anyway, somebody in the family is gonna get it. Maybe your mom, who knows? And then, let's see, I brought my pencil box, and it's about 85 years old. And it's long and wooden, and it opens up like this. And we had stick pins then, so I'll show you a few.
Oh, sit. Hey guys,
They
please
got
sit
points
flat.
on 'em, and you'd stick them in the inkwell. And then you'd get ink on it, and then you'd write on the paper.
Wait, is that metal in the end?
Yeah, it's metal. You want to feel it, it'll stick you. It's a real pen that I probably used. I've
That would
got all these old stuff in here, and it looks like I colored in the box. In the box. So you want to?
that could hurt someone really bad.
Yeah, it's and I've got 2 or 3 in here like that. I've got a little short one. Got that kind of a pinpoint. And this was a little bank they put in here to save money. Did you read that? It says saving bank. And it came with the, and then you opened it like this, and it would have a drawer in it.
Oh my.
And it has the ruler down in
My
here,
grandma has that.
and a pen. This says 6 inches. Yeah, this is the pencil box.
My grandma has that pencil.
Has she got one just like it?
Yeah,
Has
but
she?
it's just red.
Or is it red?
Yeah.
Mine's green. It's my least favorite color is green. But it's long. That's my pencil box, and I've had to tape it up. It looks like I got it out the other night, and I can't remember when I taped it. But I probably got that when I was about 10, so that's 85 years old. That's like 10 years, 20 years, 30 more, 10 more years. 10 more years is 40, clear up to 85 years, so you know that box is old. And I got one more thing I brought to show you, and maybe you kids have.
Oh, I love the way Callum's sitting flat so everyone around him can
They
see.
had little, what they call autograph books, and the kids would share these around in school. They'd ask your friends to write something on the page and then sign your name, so you'd have a keepsake from your friends. So I have lots of friends and my teachers that wrote in my book, and I've had this years and years and years. It's old, but it's still really pretty good. It's a little book. They pass around in school. A lot of kids had these little books.
Guys, we should do that.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
it's paper. It's
Oh.
kind of a cardboard.
Looks like a
And these, it looks kind of leather, but it isn't. It's just
Rick,
paper.
we're
It
listening
says,
right now, bud.
School Day Treasures. And I have two more of these books. Yeah, it does look like paper. And I wrote a few things down here so I would remember to tell you. I told you about the 2-room schools. I went to school and they had 2 rooms. The schools, that's all they had, was 2 rooms side by side. And the first room had the first 4 grades in it, and the second room had the next 4. So my brothers and sisters were all in the same school, but half of them were on one side and half were on the other side. And your school is so much different than mine.
Yeah.
But we had the desks. We had to sit in a row like that. We didn't have desks like that. And let's see what else I got here. Oh, I was gonna ask you, you kids have bathrooms in your houses?
Yes.
Well, we didn't have any bathrooms in those houses. There was none.
Then where did you have to go?
So when we had to go take a bath, my mom and dad got a big round tub, a tin tub about this big around, and Saturday night they'd bring this tub out and fill it with hot water, and all of us kids would take turns taking a bath in that tub. So the last kid that washed got the dirtiest water, because several other kids had taken a bath before him. And but every kid that got in, my mom would bring a tea kettle of water, more hot water, and put in the tub, so we'd have warm water. Cause it would get cold for each kid. So that's kind of the bath I took. And we didn't have toilets in the houses, so they had little buildings, like little sheds a long ways out from the house, and it was the toilet. And you would go in there and pull the door shut. And there was no toilet paper in those days. So they took the catalogs that their moms had from Sears and Roebuck. Everybody had catalogs. And they put these catalogs in the toilets, and that's what they used for toilet paper. And that's what and I didn't like that, because a lot of the paper in those catalogs is shiny and slick, and it's not very good paper. That's the kind of a toilet I grew up in. And I didn't have dolls. I had one doll. It was kind of a stuffed doll on a painted face. It wasn't very nice. That's the only doll I had, and I loved that doll. It wasn't very nice. And then we made paper dolls. You girls make paper dolls? You know what they are, don't you? Well, we made lots of paper dolls because we didn't have lots of dolls, so we did that. And another thing, we never went to the dentist. And that was bad. My front teeth, when I was 6 years old, they grew in crooked in here, and I didn't like it, so I would never smile to anybody. If anybody looked at me, I would go like this, because I didn't want them to see my crooked teeth. And I couldn't go to the dentist because there was no money. So I grew up with crooked teeth, and I got rid of them after I got married. I went and had them pulled out, and now I have plastic teeth, so they're straight. They're not crooked anymore, and I can smile now, and I don't have to worry about my crooked teeth. Any of you have crooked teeth? If you do, I feel bad for you. Oh, yours looks straight. Your front
have a
teeth look
loose tooth.
straight. Yours do too.
I have a loose tooth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But they're gonna get
I want
straight.
to tell you something.
Yeah.
These two came out at the same day.
Oh, they did?
That was
Oh.
I got a loose tooth.
You got a loose one?
I don't know that one.
Another thing I'll tell you about the girls' hair. My family, I don't know if all the neighborhood kids did this, but my mother would cut my hair off all the way around, just straight, and then she'd give me short bangs, and I hated my hair. I wanted it to look pretty, so one day I found a bobby pin, and so I went to the mirror and I pulled my hair over this way, and I put the bobby pin in so it would look better. I thought that looked really nice. That's all the curls I got. Yes?
Did you have rag dolls back then?
Did we have what?
Rag dolls.
Yeah, they had Raggedy Ann dolls, but I never had one. I know they had one. And we never went to movies. There was no money. I suppose they had movies, but everybody I knew never went to movies. But I would hear about Shirley Temple. Have you Fever, that name? She was in the movies at that time, I know. And several others, yes?
You said the little fever back then.
Yellow
Hello,
fever.
what?
The little fever.
Fever?
Yeah. The little,
Yellow fever.
Did I get sick with fever?
the little fever.
Little fever.
No,
Yellow.
yellow.
Oh, yellow, no. But you know, I did get scarlet fever and I almost died. I was 30 then when I had scarlet fever though. And I almost died. I was sick for a year and a half from scarlet fever. That's a terrible disease. I went unconscious. I had this hot fever and my husband had to carry me to the doctors. I vaguely remember that. I was that sick. Yes?
I learned when I went to this teapot. It has a big room where it looks like a teapot. I found it on a magazine, and my grandma let me go there, and we saw a bathroom, like we saw a shed with a wooden circle.
Seat in there?
It's a wooden toilet.
Yeah, that's the kind I had. They had 2 circles in there to sit on. And my sisters and I would go at the same time. I had 3 sisters, so there was 4 of us girls, so. There was 2 seats in those outhouses, they called them outhouses. And at school even, they had this little building out, you had to go out, to school, to this little building to use the toilets. I remember that very, very well. One time there was a wire. I don't know how that wire got there on the ground, but my sister tripped over that wire and hurt herself really bad. She was trying to go out to the toilet. And it was away from the school.
So boys and girls, even like when it was snowing or rainy or windy or cold, when she had to go to the bathroom, she had to go outside in that kind of weather
Yes, I did.
to go to the outhouse.
I gotta tell you about the penny too. This is kind of a famous story, I think, but in my family. But I never had money. I knew there was money, and I'm sure I saw some money, but I didn't have any. And one day we was coming home from school. My sister was playing in the snow, and she was a year and a half younger than me. And I was cold, so I hurried home. And she played along in the snow and the mud all the way home. And when she got home, a long time after I did, of course she was walking a mile and a half like I did. When she got home, she came in the house and my daddy was there. And she was crying and her face was all red and her hands was all red. And so we had a potbelly stove where you heat the house, you put the wood in the stove, and that's how we heated that. And my daddy was sitting in a rocker by the stove, and he had to be home right then. It must have been 4 o'clock, I suppose, in the afternoon. So he picked her up and put her on his lap, and he started rubbing her face and her hands to get her warm, and pretty soon she quit crying. And I saw him reach in his pocket, and he pulled out a penny, and he gave it to her. And I didn't have a penny, and I thought, I was the good girl. I came home, and I didn't get a penny, but she's the bad girl, and she gets the penny. So, I ran in my bedroom and I cried because I didn't get a penny and she did. So I remember that very well. A penny was just a penny, but I didn't have any money, we didn't have money. And I didn't have money much till I was probably 14 years old. And in the summertime, we would pick strawberries and we would get paid a nickel for a box of strawberries if we picked it. And we'd pick lots of boxes, so we'd get 25 cents or what. So I had little money then, but I had grown up probably 8 years or more after that, before I had any money. And money meant a lot to us. And I remember the first time I got a little purse, I was about probably 13. I went to Woolworth's, the dime store, and I must have had a quarter, so I bought this purse, and it was about this long, about this tall, and it was dark blue, about like her pants. And it kind of felt like velvet, and I loved that purse. It's the first time I ever had a purse. You girls got purses? You ever had one anyway? I was a lot older than you when I got my first purse.
Okay.
Let's see, what else can I tell you?
Boys and girls, if you have a question for her, a question, not a story about yourself or something that you've done, but a question for her that she could answer before she goes, go ahead and raise your hand, and Addie will call you if you have a question for her.
Okay. You got a question?
What did you guys eat?
What did we eat? Well, we lived on a farm, so we had fruit trees, and my dad put in a garden, so we always had carrots and stuff from the garden. So we ate good, even though we was poor. And that's the reason we moved out in the country. I think my dad knew that he would not be able to feed 6 kids if he stayed in town, because there was no cows, nothing. So that's why we moved in the country. I think so he could feed 6 kids, and so we had food. Yeah.
What did you eat?
What did I eat?
Drink.
What did I drink? Probably milk, because we had the milk cows, I'm sure. We didn't have the cream though, and my brother wanted that cream. And one day my mom looked out the window and she saw my brother go down to the cream can, and the milk company was supposed to come pick it up. And he must have had some bread in his hat or something, but he pulled the lid off of the cream can and he stuck his bread in there and he ate it. And he went on his way to school, and my mom saw him do that. But the cream, is the top of the milk, and it's thicker, and you can make whipped cream out of it. It's good, and we never got to have the cream because my dad had to chew it. So yes, you
Did you swim back then?
did it what?
Swim.
Did I go swimming? Oh yes. We lived by the water in one place where we lived. We lived right by the water. The water came right up to the road, right to the bank. And us kids all summer would just jump in that water and we'd swim all summer long. So I got to do lots of swimming. That didn't cost us nothing. That was free. Your turn.
How did you make
How did I make like what?
Talk louder, guys.
bathing suits?
Bathing suits. I don't remember where they came from, but they weren't like the bathing suits now. They were all like one piece. You were well covered when you wore a swimming suit those days. Nowadays they make 2-piece ones for girls,
And the one.
and sometimes they have 1 piece.
Okay, let's do a couple more.
Your turn.
What did you hide? Did you have anything like a vehicle or something?
Like a what?
A vehicle?
A vehicle?
Vehicle? Oh, my dad had a big old Hudson car. I forgot to tell you about that. He had it for 10 years at least, and it still kept running. And the only time we got to go for pleasure was on Sunday morning, and my dad would drive us down the road about a mile in this big, heavy old car. We would go to church every Sunday. That was our big pleasure of the week. The rest of the time, we was in school. That's all we did for fun, went to church Sunday morning. Your turn.
Were you alive when World War I and World War II were?
I was alive when World War II started, and it was very scary. I was 16 years old, and Japan, anyways, bombed Pearl Harbor. You've read the story. And so the United States was drawn into war, and my brother got to go to war. He did go to war, my brother did. And it was a very scary time. I remember the first day. I was living in Seattle by then. I was 16, and we thought they was going to get on top of us that night because we didn't have any warning. So everybody had to put quilts over the windows and make Seattle black. There was no lights anywhere. People stayed right in because they was afraid we was going to get bombed in Seattle that night. And I remember us kids was all scared, and we said, "Can we sleep downstairs?" We didn't want to sleep upstairs because we wanted to be downstairs because we thought we was going to get bombed that night. And it was very scary. And it was very scary for quite a while until we knew that they weren't going to hit Seattle. Your turn.
How did you get gas?
I don't remember. My dad got the gas in the car, so I don't remember, but probably the gas pump, they must have had gas pumps. I'm sure they did. I don't remember about that. Of course, when I got older, then I knew they had gas pumps.
Were they gas bombs?
Humps.
No, the bombs were TNT or whatever, and they'd explode. But they didn't hit Seattle. But there was a lot of fighting from then on. A lot of the young men in our country, even from Millsburg, went to war, and they put on soldier suits and went to war, and that was very scary.
Did your brother die?
How about Uriah being the last question?
Last question.
Did you have metal?
Did I have what?
Metal.
Metal?
Yeah.
You mean like steel or something? Or
No. Like metal, like the hard thing?
Like the gold.
like the gold?
Yeah, like
silver?
yeah,
Metal.
silver and gold.
I didn't have it. No, I didn't.
But they had it back then. Like, did metal and steel exist back then?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes, they did. And they called it the war effort, and all the men went to work, and they made airplanes and ships really fast because our country got in war, and they needed all this stuff to protect us. And my daddy, when we moved to Seattle then, he went to work at the shipyards and help him make that stuff. And that's what he did then during the war. And the women were all home. All the mothers never went to work in those days. And probably a lot of your mothers go to work now every day. Probably a lot of
I heard that.
but then no women went to work. But when the war started, then they all went to work. And they started helping make stuff for the war. I remember that. And it was a very scary time. I didn't like it that our country was in war because you never knew when we was going to get a bomb on top of us. But we bombed Japan. You probably heard about that. And we killed a lot of people in Japan, thousands, from our war effort.
So boys and girls.
No, I was just doing connection.
Oh, he was saying he was connecting with that story. We are so lucky that you came in here. Do you want to come back and visit us again? Because we'd love to have you. Can
I
we
enjoyed coming.
can we show
I
an
haven't
attitude of
gone to school
gratitude?
for a long time. This is the first time I've been to school. You're welcome.
Does anyone have a compliment they want to give before she goes?
Don't get old. I'll tell you, don't
Here's a
get
tip.
old.
Rip, do you have a compliment?
Not very fun.
It's really cool that you know a lot about back in the days.
Yeah, because I grew up in those days, so you know about your turn.
We didn't have any
Oh, okay. I'm glad I got to tell you some things. No, you wouldn't remember all it because you didn't live through it. But I still remember a lot of things.
Can you guys make a path so that she can walk safely without legs in the way and feet?
Hey, Addie.
Thank you for letting me come. I really enjoyed
Well,
it.
you can come back anytime. You're the cutest thing we've seen.
Can you say hi to Grandpa too?
Addie is my great granddaughter, and I have 21 more.
Oh,
Yes. She's got a sister and a brother. That's 2 more. And then I've got some more
So when will you turn 96?
in August.
She's a summer birthday.
The 7th.
Where it's at.
I had the most wonderful birthday last summer when I turned 95.
Oh, class, she's telling a story.
And 2 of my granddaughters came with their families. One came from Iowa, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Another one came from Maryland on the East Coast and brought their kids. So I got to see some more of my kids because they don't live here. And I have some in New Jersey that didn't get to come.
You can go take her hand, honey, and you can walk her this way.
A whole bunch of my family come to my birthday, and it was so fun, and I'll never forget it. It was nice, and that was that.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing a bit of your past with us and sharing your heart with us. It was a beautiful morning.